It started with a single comment, and now the entire city of Cleveland is spiraling. Kelsey, the retired legend with a Super Bowl ring and zero filter, casually drops a warning about how the Browns are handling Shedeur Sanders. He wasn't ranting, he wasn't hyping, he was just speaking the truth. But in Cleveland, truth hits harder than any defensive tackle. Within hours, his words had turned from advice into ammunition, and the Browns' front office was caught in a media storm it never saw coming. See, Kelsey didn't just speak, he declared. He questioned whether Cleveland would actually give Shedeur a fair shot, hinting that the team's indecision could blow up before the season even begins. That one soundbite hit social media like a thunderclap. Fans argued, players whispered, and suddenly everyone, from ESPN to TikTok, had something to say. The timing couldn't have been worse, because right after Kelsey's warning, the Browns named Dillon Gabriel their starter. Now, what should have been a quiet football decision turned into a national headline. Fans split down the middle, one half furious that Shedeur's being benched, the other half claiming he's not ready. Meanwhile, the Browns organization, already known for chaos, doubled down instead of cooling off. What Kelsey said wasn't a curse, it was common sense. But Cleveland turned it into prophecy, and the more they fight it, the more it seems to come true. And that's just the beginning, because what happened next turned one harmless warning into a full-blown franchise meltdown. It all kicked off with a simple clip. A short exchange that somehow managed to set Cleveland's entire football universe on fire. During a routine segment, a Browns reporter asked about Shedeur Sanders' potential, and within seconds, the internet did what it does best. It turned a few harmless words into a battlefield. The question was about potential, but the reaction was pure chaos. Fans, analysts, and even former players jumped in, dissecting every syllable like it was a political scandal. Then came Dillon Gabriel's response. Calm, composed, and just a little too perfect. "We're a team," he said. "We do this as a unit." It was the kind of quote meant to diffuse tension, but instead, it poured gasoline on it. The clip exploded across social media. TikTok loops, Twitter threads, YouTube reaction videos, everyone had a take. To some, Gabriel sounded like a leader. To others, like a man trying to hold his locker room together before it cracked in half. And while fans argued over tone and subtext, something bigger was brewing. Kelsey had seen enough. The man known for flattening linemen and dropping truth bombs decided to step in. His warning would change everything, because when a Hall of Famer speaks, and what he says hits just a little too close to home, it doesn't stay a comment. It becomes a prophecy. And for Cleveland, that prophecy was about to unfold in real time. When Kelsey speaks, people listen, not because he's loud, but because he's almost always right. The man's seen it all. Locker rooms that crumble, front offices that panic, franchises that can't get out of their own way. So when Kelsey opened his mouth about the Cleveland Browns and their handling of Shedeur Sanders, it wasn't some hot take. It was a warning. He said it straight. The Browns have a habit of wasting potential. Too many talented players, too many bad decisions. He didn't call out names, but everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. His message was simple: don't screw this up. And the way he said it? Calm, confident, with that trademark gravel in his voice that made it sound less like advice and more like prophecy. It spread instantly. ESPN replayed it. Podcasts clipped it. Fans quoted it. By nightfall, Kelsey warned them was trending across sports Twitter. You'd think the Browns would have taken the message in stride, reflected, adjusted, maybe even stayed quiet. But Cleveland doesn't do quiet. Instead of letting it fade, they got defensive. Reports leaked of tension inside the building. The owner was reportedly furious, pounding the table in disbelief. The team that could have just nodded and moved on turned one sentence into a week-long circus. Kelsey didn't create the chaos. He just pointed at it before everyone else saw it coming. And now, whether he meant to or not, the NFL world had its new storyline: the Kelce prophecy versus Cleveland's pride. And the next move the Browns made? It proved Kelce might have been right all along. The Browns had one job: keep things calm, stay focused, and prove Jason Kelce wrong. Instead, they threw gasoline on the fire. Just days after Kelce's warning sent shockwaves through the league, Cleveland made its move. Dillon Gabriel would be the starter. Now, under normal circumstances, that kind of decision wouldn't have made headlines. But this wasn't normal. Not when Shedeur Sanders, the lightning rod rookie everyone's been waiting to see, was sitting right there. The timing made it look like a statement, not a strategy. Fans immediately took sides. Half of Cleveland saw Gabriel's promotion as smart, a steady, experienced hand to guide the team. The other half called it what it looked like: a snub, a refusal to take a risk on the kid with star power, swagger, and fan demand. The announcement dropped and social media imploded. Gabriel over Shedeur? Really? One fan posted, getting thousands of likes within hours. Sports talk shows picked it up, comparing it to past Cleveland misfires. The endless carousel of quarterbacks that turned into memes. Even national analysts questioned if the Browns were already repeating their own history. But what really set people off wasn't the decision itself. It was how the team handled it. No explanation, no transparency, just a quiet press release and a half-hearted soundbite from the coach. To fans, it felt dismissive. To players, it felt awkward. And to Jason Kelce, watching from afar, it looked exactly like what he'd warned them about. Because in Cleveland, the moment you try to silence the noise, you usually end up making it louder. The moment the starter announcement hit the timeline, the internet turned into a war zone. Cleveland fans didn't just react. They erupted. Half the city was ready to rally behind Dillon Gabriel, the cool, collected rookie who plays it safe and says all the right things. The other half wanted Shedeur Sanders, the flashy playmaker with charisma and confidence that Cleveland hasn't seen since, well, maybe ever. Locker room whispers started to leak out almost immediately. Some players reportedly believed Shedeur should have been given more first-team reps in practice. Others thought the coaching staff was right to ease him in. But what's clear is that the decision divided the locker room just as much as it split the fan base. And while the players tried to stay professional, the fans weren't holding back. Hashtags started trending. Hashtag free Shedeur. Hashtag let 12 cook. Every radio show in Ohio turned into a debate club. ESPN ran split-screen graphics comparing both quarterbacks' preseason highlights, fueling an already chaotic narrative. Even neutral NFL fans from other cities jumped in, turning Cleveland's QB controversy into the league's favorite drama of the week. The tension got so thick that even team insiders admitted privately that things felt weird. Instead of coming together before Week 1, Cleveland was eating itself alive. Again. But here's the wild part. All of this noise, all of this chaos, could have been avoided. One calm press conference, one clear plan, one show of unity. Instead, the Browns turned a simple quarterback decision into a public civil war. And the media? They were loving every second of it. Once the story hit the mainstream, the media did what it always does. It poured gasoline on a campfire and called it breaking news. Every sports show, podcast, and debate table suddenly had a Cleveland quarterback crisis segment. Headlines screamed things like Browns already divided before Week 1 and is Shedeur being set up to fail? The same reporters who hyped him up 2 weeks ago were now questioning his maturity, his attitude, even his fit for the city. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel got the gentler treatment. Analysts described him as steady, dependable, and coachable. When he threw an interception in camp, it was part of the process. When Shedeur missed a read, it was a red flag. That's the double standard. One guy gets patience, the other gets pressure, and you can't ignore the reason why. Shedeur brings attention. Cameras follow him. Fans chant. His name. His father is Shedeur Sanders. That level of spotlight makes the media hungry for drama. And Cleveland's front office, already shaky under pressure, gives them plenty to chew on. Every comment gets twisted. Every facial expression overanalyzed. If Shedeur laughs on the sideline, he's not taking it seriously. If he looks focused, he's disconnected. There's no winning in that kind of narrative trap. By the end of the week, it wasn't about football anymore. It was about optics. And just like that, Cleveland found itself back in the role it knows best, the league's most chaotic storyline. But behind all the headlines and hashtags, two young quarterbacks are living this storm in real time. Behind all the noise, there are still two young quarterbacks just trying to survive the storm. Dillon Gabriel might have the title of starter, but he's walking on eggshells. Every snap he takes feels like an audition, every throw like a referendum on whether he deserves the job. He's not just playing football. He's fighting for validation in a city that eats quarterbacks alive. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders sits in the shadows, forced to watch the chaos from the sidelines. He's got the arm, the swagger, and the it factor that fans can feel the second he steps on the field. But he's also carrying something heavier: expectations. The son of Shedeur Sanders doesn't get the luxury of growing quietly. Everything he does is magnified 1,000 times over. When he's confident, people call it arrogance. When he stays quiet, they say he's pouting. Those who've seen him in practice describe a player who's locked in, focused, and patient, waiting for his shot. But patience doesn't always pay in Cleveland. Too many quarterbacks have waited for their time, only to see it never come. And that's the tragedy here. Both Gabriel and Shedeur want the same thing: to win, to prove themselves, to be the guy who finally breaks the Browns' curse. But instead of being allowed to grow, they're caught in the crossfire of public pressure, media chaos, and front office politics. No matter who you root for, it's hard not to feel for them both. Because in Cleveland, talent isn't the problem. Timing is. This isn't just a quarterback controversy anymore. It's a full-blown identity crisis for the Cleveland Browns. Every decision they make from this point on will either stabilize the franchise or send it spiraling even deeper into dysfunction. The stakes couldn't be higher. For Dillon Gabriel, the pressure is suffocating. If he performs well, he keeps the job. But one bad outing, one interception under the lights, and fans will be calling for his benching before the final whistle. Cleveland has never been patient with quarterbacks. The city wants results, not almosts. For Shedeur Sanders, the challenge is different. He's fighting perception, not performance. Every snap he doesn't take fuels the belief that the team doesn't trust him. Every week he waits adds to the frustration of fans who see him as the spark this offense desperately needs. He doesn't just represent hope, he represents change. And that scares the people who built the current system. And for the Browns organization, this is the test of whether they've actually learned anything from years of chaos. Can they manage pressure without panicking? Can they back their players without turning every headline into damage control? Because right now, it's not just about winning games. It's about proving they can handle success without imploding. But if history has taught us anything, Cleveland rarely learns its lessons quietly. Rebuilds. And Gabriel knows one misstep could make him the next name on that infamous list of the craziest part of all this. We've seen this movie before, and somehow the Browns keep signing up for sequels. Every few years, a new name, a new savior, a new storyline. And every time, it ends the same way: chaos. From Johnny Manziel to Baker Mayfield, from hope to heartbreak, Cleveland has turned dysfunction into an art form. And now, it feels like Shedeur Sanders is being written into the same tragic script. After Jason Kelce's comments, instead of rallying together, the organization cracked open. Anonymous sources, heated press conferences, emotional interviews. It all came spilling out. The front office looked defensive, the coaches looked cornered, and the players looked tired. The fans? They were done pretending. It wasn't just disappointment anymore. It was exhaustion. And the media? Oh, they couldn't get enough. Every sideline argument, every frustrated facial expression, every offhand quote became a headline. Cleveland wasn't just losing control of the narrative, they were feeding it. What should have been a quiet quarterback competition turned into a full-blown NFL reality show with millions watching, waiting for the next meltdown. Meanwhile, Shedeur's stuck living through it. Every snap, every mistake, every silence scrutinized. He's become the face of a storm he didn't create. And as for Jason Kelce, he doesn't even need to say another word. His warning, his maybe don't screw this up speech, has officially aged like prophecy. Cleveland's curse isn't bad luck. It's self-inflicted chaos. And once again, they're proving no one implodes quite like the Browns. At this point, it's not even about who starts on Sunday. It's about what Cleveland represents. A franchise that keeps finding new ways to trip over its own potential. A city that craves heroes, but never gives them the room to grow. And a fan base that deserves better than heartbreak on repeat. Jason Kelce didn't curse the Browns. He simply said what everyone else was too afraid to admit. His words weren't magic, they were truth. The Browns don't lose because they lack talent. They lose because they can't handle tension without turning it into a spectacle. Every time they get close to stability, they light the fuse themselves. And somehow, that's become their brand. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. Shedeur Sanders has the tools, the fire, and the drive to be something special. Dylan Gabriel has the leadership and discipline to steady a franchise that's been running on chaos. Together, they could have been a story of balance, of patience meeting potential. Instead, they've become pawns in another Cleveland controversy. And while the city keeps debating, the rest of the league just laughs. Because deep down, everyone knows the Browns aren't cursed by fate. They're cursed by pattern. So here's the real question. Do you think Jason Kelce actually predicted the downfall, or did Cleveland just write it for him? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over. And if you want more unfiltered breakdowns of football's wildest storylines, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because in this league, drama never sleeps. Especially when it lives in Cleveland.